No. Come on, where is it?
Dave, it's your Idaho Central app here. Any chance you're missing a debit card? Let's get that taken care of for you. With ICCU's card control, you can turn any card off with the tap of your finger.
You got it.
And back on again. Out, 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 out. The closest Idaho Central Credit Union branch is in your pocket.
Pow day.
Dude, let's go.
This is Bronco Nation News Live. The best interviews, the most informed opinions, the latest breaking news, all from the top Boise State insiders. Bronco Nation News Live from BroncoNationNews.com is presented by RowPaint.com, the official paint and coatings company of Boise State Athletics. All Bronco Nation news broadcasts come from the Western Collective Studios. Head down to Western Collective's locations in Garden City or downtown Boise to try some of their delicious beers, including the Horseshoe Golden Ale, the first beer to support an NIL collective. Now, here's four-time NSMA Idaho Sports Writer of the Year, BJ Rains, with another edition of Bronco Nation News Live.
Unfortunately, you're not getting the four-time NMSA Sports Writer of the Year, BJ Rains. He is on his Green Bay to cover the NFL draft. Instead, I'm hosting the show this morning, and I am joined by Michael Callahan, he who appeared in 55 career games at Boise State, was a two-time Mountain West champion, and oh, by the way, a five-time academic All-Mountain West representative. How are we doing on this very fine morning, Michael?
Doing great. Like you said, not quite BJ Rains, but we'll do our best to make up for it in the aggregate. We're going to be playing Moneyball today. We'll have Alexander Tubner joining us in a little bit, so that'll also help us make up for some stuff in the short term. But excited to be here.
I'm excited to have you here. Actually, I'm excited to chat with you. I always enjoy chatting with you, Michael. But we are 2 days away from the 2025 NFL Draft. Ashton Jeanty looking to make a little bit of history. Michael Callahan consuming an unhealthy amount of NFL mock drafts at the moment. So I want to get your thoughts on that. We're going to take a look at some of the other guys, Ahmed Hassani and Shea Oladipo. You mentioned Alexander Tubner. He's going to join us right around 9:15, fresh off of a workout. And then finally, we're going to cap this conversation or the show today with BJ talking with the Boise State beach volleyball coach who I don't know if you know this, Michael, but they're the number one seed at the conference tournament and looking to have a really good weekend down all the way in New Orleans. That's where the Southland Conference is. But I want to start today by talking about the spring game. And first and foremost, what was your experience like for the first time ever as a Boise State football fan backslash spectator on Saturday?
Well, first and foremost, I'm going to have to learn how to pace myself at those things. I definitely had a little bit too much fun at the spring game. It was an awesome environment, awesome experience. I know it's a small sample size compared to game day, but it's it's so cool to be around Bronco Nation and being able to experience the energy on game days. I always knew it on the field, how into it everyone in the stands is, but being able to experience it firsthand was a really freaking awesome experience for me, and getting to interact with some of the fans, and just staying close to the game was just a great experience. I actually went with Tubner, so he might talk about a little bit of that and his experience with it too. But it was awesome. One thing that I noticed with the spring game was there wasn't a lot of cheering when the defense did something great, which was probably expected. And then as soon as the defense got their butts kicked, the whole crowd erupted. So that's kind of the way that I experienced it in my playing career too. But it was just an all around awesome day, awesome experience. And I'm really excited about what I saw too. I think there's a lot of potential with this team, and I think that you knew that they had a great chance of doing some awesome things this year, coming back with the roster that they had, and even with a few portal people leaving in the middle of spring ball. I think that they came out and showed unlimited potential in the spring game. I think that this team could be very special.
We'll talk a little bit about how the transfer portal has giveth and taketh lately, but I think kind of the position that everybody got excited about on Saturday, and it's kind of the one that Ashton Jeanty set such a standard at, that people were eager to see how his replacements would do. And Malik Sherrod, Breezy, Dubar, Dylan Riley, I think all of those guys had some impressive moments on Saturday. So what did you kind of make of those guys? And man, Malik's got some breakaway speed. We knew that Dylan does, and we obviously know that Breezy does for that matter. So that's a room that has quite the top end gear, if you will.
Right, absolutely. And we were talking about it a little bit that Saturday was without Sire Gaines, so you're not even including that aspect in it. And everybody knows we only got two and a quarter games from Sire Gaines last year, and it still popped to the point that we all are talking about Sire Gaines the way we are. But just seeing both Malik Sherrod and Dylan hit those home runs during the game. I know Malik only had maybe three carries during the spring game, so limited work. But what he did with that work, his long, I don't know if it was 60 yards around there, but his breakaway was very impressive, popped big time on film. It kind of, reemphasized everything that I've been hearing about Malik Sherrod and what I experienced firsthand against Malik Sherrod in 2023. I knew that he was an, unbelievable player with explosive breakaway speed. Getting to see it firsthand was super cool. And, I think that this running back room, I know that Ashton Jeanty is obviously irreplaceable, and I'm not trying to say that he is. I think that the talent and the depth that we have in that room for next year, I truly believe that there might not, you won't have one guy put up Ashton Jeanty numbers probably ever again. That's just not realistic. But in terms of making up for it with, a healthy stable of running backs, I think that they're in a great position to do some damage next year.
Yeah, I honestly believe that Ashton Jeanty has ruined football in the city of trees forever, because 2,601 yards on the ground. He broke the school record by almost 800 yards. I mean, the perspective you need there is that Malik Sherrod's career high coming to Boise State, I believe, is 966 yards. So I mean, and that's almost the total that Ashton broke the school record by.
Right.
You look at Malik, and I want to kind of go through some of these running backs here. And as long as we're talking about depth, I also want to talk about the quarterback position. But beginning with Malik, he's 5'8", listed at 177. That's about 50 pounds, 45 pounds, leaner, if you will, than what Ashton Jeanty checked in at, right? So what do you think are kind of realistic expectations, I guess, when you look at a guy like Malik? And I don't even know if you have to give me like an exact yardage number here, Michael, but I mean, to think that any human could withstand 374 carries like Ashton did last year, that is not realistic. So so moving forward, and you kind of see and envision what Malik's role in this offense might be. What do you kind of think that is?
I think that coming in, you'd have to assume that to some capacity, there's going to be two running backs on the field.
Yeah.
In every game, they're going to have to get to a Q20 or Q21 personnel where they use two traditional tailbacks on the field. The talent that we have in that room just prevents it from being, just going standard 11 or 12 personnel for 85% of the game or whatever the numbers might be from what our tendencies were last year. I think that you might have to adapt to the players that you have. The players make the scheme. The scheme doesn't really make the players. That's kind of the saying in football. And I think at the end of the day, you kind of got to look at this like, you got a great problem on your hands. You got 4 very, very capable running backs in that room. And at the end of the day, not everyone's going to get the carries. So it's going to be really interesting to see the competition going into summer and going into fall camp to find out who is 100% going to get the biggest workloads in that room, whether that be Sire, Malik, Dylan, or Breezy. And at the end of the day, I think that there's enough to go around in that room. I think that everyone's going to be able to make an impact at some point this season. And like you were saying, 375 carries for one person is inhumane and probably won't happen again for a long time. And, it's going to be important. Like, we're going to need all 4 of those guys to have big seasons in their own ways. What that looks like in terms of total yardage, who knows? You might see one of those guys be able to join the 1,000-yard club, which I know is a staple of the Boise State running back room and is always a goal that people are chasing. I'm not sure who that might be. It might be Sire, just in terms of the potential that he has there. And, I've seen it in person, and he's very impressive. Or it could be Malik. And like you were saying, just in terms of the size of Malik, and, he's naturally a smaller dude. He also just comes with a natural edge to him as a result of that. That isn't, it brings something out of people from what I've been hearing. He's just got a competitive edge to him just because of the natural size that he has. He's got to have something to him, and he definitely brings it on a daily basis in terms of a leadership and a competitive edge perspective.
It's so funny, Michael, because last year at Mountain West Media Days, he was actually a representative for Fresno State down there, right? Yeah. And so we make our rounds and we catch up with guys and we get to know guys. And Malik was one of the guys that stood out to me there, man. Like, he was fun to catch up with. Usually when you visit with some of the other guys, you only have so many questions you want to ask him or so many things. But he was a guy, we got into his personality a little bit and like where he gets it from. And now he's here, which man, I don't know if I would have predicted that, knowing that he went to Fresno State, but what a win for Boise State getting him out of the transfer portal. Talking about Dylan Riley, he had 9 carries for 20 yards and 2 touchdowns. He had a 47-yard touchdown that got called back due to a penalty, but he still hit the corner and showed off what makes him special, and that is his speed. But I don't even necessarily want to focus on him on the field. I'm a little curious about Dylan off the field because, Michael, he came to the post-game press conference, and he was the representative for the offense. The kid clearly carries himself very well. But what stood out to me is after this long day of practice and then the scrimmage and then the press conference, afterwards, we shut it all down. And he says, hold on a second, guys. I want to walk around the room and I want to shake all your hands. Yeah. I don't. Now, when we have our like little cordial one-on-ones and things like that, very, very common. But the press conference setting is just a little bit different where you really, truly have to be intentional about going around to shake everybody's hand. Right. What does that say about the Dylan Riley you know?
Yeah, he stood out to me since he got on campus. Don't get me wrong. People in the building, there's a wealth of personalities. It's obviously a melting pot. But kids like that stand out to me, just genuinely good dudes that care. I think that that's really important in today's day and age in college football because at the end of the day, a lot of people are out there just to make some money. And, it's not like that everywhere. I know that for a fact with people going to other schools. There's a lot of, there's a lack of culture and a lack of brotherhood going on around those schools. And that's something that I'm very proud of these guys for being able to maintain. And Dylan Riley's a perfect example of that. He's just a kid that shows up. He went out of his way to make relationships with everybody in the building, went out of his way to, earn his respect from the guys on the team. I think that that's definitely grown since I've gotten out of there. But I knew right away, as we got into fall camp, I knew that this kid was going to be something special for us. I think he's very, he brings stuff to the table. He brings that home run speed. Whether we're using him on special teams or using him on offense, he's just at the end of the day, he's a kid that wants to learn, he wants to grow, and he wants to dominate at the end of the day. And when you got that mentality, the sky's the limit for him with the talent that he has. And like you were saying, just unbelievable kid, great personality. He's probably only 18, 19 years old, and he's already going out of his way to shake everyone's hand. So I personally, as an alumni, love to hear that. Those are the kind of guys that I root for, and I'm excited to see what he does this year.
Now, we're going to get back to the spring game talk here in just a second because I do want to get your thoughts on Caleb Annett, who really shined as the backup quarterback. We are going to talk a little bit of defense. I know you're excited to do that, but in the meantime, we got a guy preparing for the 2025 NFL Draft standing by. One of the toughest kids on the team, probably has the biggest heart on the team. He was listed as a safety, but probably played most of the season at linebacker at right around 200 pounds. He's got the best mustache on the team, no doubt. And he just finished a workout. Joining us now is Alexander Tubner. Tubes, how are we doing this morning? How are the nerves as you get prepared for one of the bigger weekends of your life?
Jay, I just got to say, that was the best Bruce Buffer intro I could have ever told. That was something else. Doing good, man. I'm back in Seaside. I wouldn't even say nerves. I'm excited. Kind of been in this spot before, so I'm looking forward to see what happens.
And I should say that, yeah, Alexander Tubner doesn't get nervous. He makes people nervous. What is this like? So you're back in Seaside. We know how much that means to you, your town, your family. Why is this the place that you're choosing to be this weekend?
It's just kind of where it all started, man. It's kind of hard to put into words to this community how big of a deal this is, and that's not to toot my own horn. It's because I'm a product of this community, and I just wanted to spend with people that have been with me the whole ride and invested so much in me. So I thought it was a cool and no-brainer opportunity to get back home and spend this weekend with them. And I got a lot of great friends here and great mentors, and it's just good on both ends to be back.
Michael, you've seen the blood, the sweat, the tears, all the behind-the-scenes effort this guy put in over the last 6 years to play football and be an impactful player. How proud are you of this guy?
Yeah, tough to say with Tubner sitting right there. But you think the world of Tubner. Obviously I agree with you with that. He had the biggest heart on our team. I truly believe that he was the hardest worker in the building. Made me feel lazy half the time. I thought that I was a hard worker, and I'd show up after taking a nap, and Tubner was still in the facility watching film, still in the training room trying to get healthy. He was trying to get his knee out of my quad for about the last month and a half of the season there.
That's right. You're the jerk that knocked him out, man. It wasn't even an opponent.
Yeah, it was 100% my fault that Tubner missed 4 games, and I hear about that virtually every week at this point still, and we're at the end of April, so that's probably going to go on for a few years here.
Don't let Mike undersell himself, Jay. Guys like him are the heart and soul of this team, so don't let him sit there just because he's all done and be all humble.
So Alexander, for you, and I don't know how hard you can go into this stuff. I know there's a song and dance that you have to abide by and all that stuff, but are there any teams that you'd be willing to say that you've kind of been in contact with, or how do you just feel like this process is going?
I feel good about it. I put all my same adage when I came through Boise State. I put all my attention, all my focus into what I can control. I think there's a lot of people who get caught up in what they can't, and in a process like this, it will absolutely drown you having to worry about things you really don't know about. So for what I'm able to control, I'm really happy with, and I'm content with, and however it goes, I know I left it all out there. But as far as what I've heard, you hear a lot of things about, we like this guy. Obviously some teams more than others. I really don't know how it's going to go. I don't know if I'm going to get a call during the draft or right afterwards. And in all honesty, that's not what's important to me. I just got to end up in the right spot, get the right opportunity, and it's kind of rinse and repeat back into the walk-on role.
And honestly, though, that's the way that it goes. And I mean, I saw a guy win 50 games at Boise State and go undrafted, but he fell into a really ideal spot in Detroit with an offensive coordinator that believed in him, and he hung around long enough to make NFL pension, and he started a few games at quarterback for the Cowboys, and now he's the head coach of the New Orleans Saints, for that matter. So Kellen Moore, he had to walk that path, and it worked out really well for him. I know that that everybody focuses on how much of an uphill battle it might be, Alexander, but I mean, there's a truth to it too, that there's a lot of expensive talent in the NFL, right? So you need some more affordable. I'm not going to say cheap. I'm going to say some more affordable talent to fill out those rosters. I mean, there are spots in the league for guys like you. Do you lean on that or look at it as a glass half full situation at all, like with that perspective?
Yeah, I mean, if I was an NFL GM, I could get a guy that was willing to die on the field for pennies on the dollar. I think it's a no-brainer. I say that jokingly, but in all seriousness, like, absolutely, there's a financial aspect to the game, but that, in all honesty, has no reason why I'm doing it. It's been a lifelong dream of mine.
Mm-hmm.
Been told I can't a million times, and been told I can just a couple, and that's been enough to keep me going. So this has nothing to do with the money. I just love the game of football, and kind of the same reason I felt I became successful at Boise State. I'm just going to keep it going.
Michael, I'm going to toss it to you with a question, so then you can get it to Alexander. But just for some perspective, and I jokingly said this, or half jokingly said it, but Alexander was listed as a safety, right?
Yep.
He spent so much time down in the box, though. Like, how much did what Alexander offered allow you guys to do what you needed to do on defense last year to win 12 games, go to a Fiesta Bowl, and be Mountain West champs? He won't answer the question, so I'm asking you.
Yeah, and I'll absolutely answer that question. I think that was invaluable to us. I think that was the sole reason that we were able to be in dime for 85 to 90% of our I don't know what the percentage was, but I know it felt like 85 to 90% of the time we were in dime, and that was because of Tubner. Because early on in fall camp, we realized that Tubner's basically playing will linebacker better than anybody else in the Mountain West Conference was at that point, and it was invaluable to our defense to be able to have that kind of a guy hop down to linebacker and, fill that role and not be scared to hop in the B gap when it opens up and take on, I've seen him take on guards that were with Tubner might be 4 times his size, but, in reality, he's just, that's just the mentality of our defense. At the end of the day, Tubner playing dime and playing down in the box was the mentality that we all leaned on as a defense last year that allowed us to do the things we were able to do.
Tubner, for you, I go back and I think this is going to be a pretty big compliment. Growing up, I'm like a third cousin of Steve Gleason, and he played linebacker at Boise State. And the one thing about him in college is he was one of the smaller linebackers. Like he played at like 200 pounds. And again, with seeing how much you were down in the box and taking on guards and things like this, what type of psycho, in a way, does it take to play linebacker at 200 pounds?
Well, first of all, and I'm not just trying to be overly humble. It cannot be done unless you have elite defensive tackles. And we had 4 guys who probably could have been the number 1 guy at any other school in the conference. And we talk about the strongest point of our defense and the most unsung heroes that started up front. When I don't have guards being able to climb into me, because Mike, Sheldon, Herb, Brax, they were taking on double teams and eating up those gaps. All you're doing is running through air. So, yeah, you got to cut the screws a little loose to play in the box at my size, no doubt. But the job was made a whole lot easier with the guys we had up front.
How much do you think that versatility, though, showed? Like, I mean, let's face it, going in the NFL, you're going to be back in that role where you will have to do anything, right? Special teams, safety, they want you to line up over a slot, all that stuff. So what have teams said about, some of that versatility that you have shown, you can do at a pretty high level?
I think it's probably one of the strongest things I have going for me is, everyone wants to put guys in this box of he's this type of guy. He's more of a in the box type of guy, but I truly feel like I can do it all. I've shown both ends of it. I absolutely can play in the box, and I can play in coverage as well. I joke around and say I'm just a football player, but that's kind of the truth of it.
Yep.
I have my style of play. I'm not trying to play like anybody else, but I'm able to do a lot of different things with that.
All right, so who gets more emotional at the end of this weekend? You or your dad?
My dad.
It was a loaded question. I knew that was the answer. What's that guy mean to you, and how supportive has he been along the way?
Oh man, he's the best dad anybody could ask for. He's probably definitely is my best friend, and to talk about the few guys that are telling me I can, he's probably the one. And I've always looked up to that guy. He's a role model. He kind of looks at the big picture stuff a little more with some more perspective than I do. Maybe that's just because he's older and has a little more of a view on life as a whole. But me, I'm kind of focused on the next. But this is something we've been talking about since he got me into football before elementary school. So I love that guy, and he's the reason why I do what I do.
Yeah, I've really enjoyed getting to know Justin a little bit over these years. Where do you? I mean, is that where it comes from? Is that where your toughness, your tenacity, all that? Is that where it comes from?
I mean, I say who you are is like 90% a product of your environment. So absolutely. I mean, if he's a guy I've been looking up to, he's a tough dude, no excuses, hardest worker I've ever been around. So yeah, absolutely. I'd say that's probably the main reason I am who I am.
Michael, how quickly after Tubner finds out where he's going, are you gonna like special order a Tubner jersey?
Probably same day delivery. I don't care if I have to custom make it. I'm doing it. I haven't done that yet. The guys that have got in the league, I haven't gone all out with it. I've stayed close with all of them, and it's not that I don't want to represent them or whatever. But with Tubner, as soon as he goes, I mean, throughout this process, I think everybody in my house will be ordering a Tubner jersey just off of the conversations we've been having about him. Saying how crazy this is going to be when he gets his chance. Yeah, like I said, same day delivery. I don't care what team it is. It could be, I grew up a diehard Pats fan. I'd get a Bills jersey if it happened. I'd get a Jets jersey if it happened. I don't care. Ravens jersey, doesn't matter.
I think the Ravens got some pretty cool jerseys. So
that too. Yeah.
I'd be okay with that. I'd be okay with that. Because he's so humble. You got your favorite Alexander Tubner story, Michael?
Off the top of my head,
be careful, Mike.
Yeah, that's what I'm trying to balance that aspect out.
So there's one Saturday or late night downtown. No,
yeah, I'm staying away from that. We could get into Saturday for that matter, but I would probably have to say, my favorite was close to me because in the Nevada game, after him and I had the incident where I smoked him, I was pretty beat up about it. And that was the first time in my career that I was completely taken out of a game, just mentally. Took me a long time to get back in it. And he came up to me right after his knee was just destroyed and talked me off the cliff and brought me back into the game and refocused it. So I'll go into a heartfelt story for that. I got numerous other stories that I'm not going to say, but
well, the laughs say it all. What do you remember about that moment, Tubner? I mean, you're dealing with your own. I mean, at the time, man, we were hoping that it wasn't a season-ending thing. So, what do you remember about refocusing and going and talking to Mike?
I mean, there's just so much emotion when something like that happens. You go from the most like aggressive and amped up state of being in a football game to you sitting in a tent with Dr. Curran and him dropping a bomb on you. So it's like such a roller coaster emotion swing. I've dealt with adversity before, but when you have such a vision, such a clarity of how you see this season going and riding the ship with these guys and you're playing the best football you ever played before, it's absolutely just like a bombshell. So, but I've also played enough football to where like I will never, ever fault somebody for flying around and diving around. I've friendly fired plenty of my teammates and I've been on the receiving end of it enough times, and it's part of the game. I mean, the guy was diving for a tackle, but that's probably a testament to our relationship that even Mike's been part of plenty of friendly fires with me before that. So
The LA Bowl.
no, man, it's like I love Mike, and it's he cares a lot about me and the rest of his teammates, and there's no reason to hold that against yourself. This is never me against Mike thing, but no, I just need to make sure that he knew that I wouldn't hold anything against him on that one.
Let's get a Mike Callahan story from you then. I mean, you want to talk about people that are humble. Mike barely even lets you know that he played in 55 career games at Boise State, right? Like one of the smartest dudes in the room. Let's get a Mike Callahan tall tale.
A Mike Callahan story. All right, hold on, give me a second. I mean, I don't gotta go back far. I got one this last weekend.
Ooh.
No, I'm just kidding. Let's talk about let's just talk about the LA Bowl, Mike. While we're on the topic. No, I got heartfelt stories of Mike too, but this is to add some humor to the show. So
I love it.
all right, we know how the LA Bowl went is TG left, Mad Dog was hurt. Kind of behind the 8 ball, and the game kind of got away from us there at the end a little bit. But you're never out of the fight, right? So they're driving down the field, and we needed at least 2 scores to win the game. But we're not gonna let them score, right? So they're about on the 15-yard line. They need to get about to the 5 to put the game away, and we're just selling out. We are basically. That they want to pass the touchdown at this point, so be it. So I go in and I get the thick running back, get him wrapped up, and Michael freaking Callahan does the most athletic thing I've ever seen him do. He probably jumps from about 5 yards away, takes flight, goes lateral, and the only thing he touched on the top of that pile was the crown of my helmet. I got targeted by Mike, and I'm laying down last play of the season. Maybe the second last play. The problem is I don't remember. So laying on the ground, I'm like, Michael, what the? And I'm like, oh my God. Talk about pain. The end of the season, just put cherry on top of it. But no, that's just kind of between me and Mike's story. I thought that was hilarious.
I think that it's only fitting you got to add a little humor when you talk about Michael, in my opinion.
Oh yeah, Mike's one of the funniest dudes I know.
They called the timeout after that, and we get over to the sideline, and Coach D is trying to scream something at Tubner, and Tubner's looking off into I don't know where, and I catch it, and I sprint over, and I run right next to him. I'm like, he doesn't know what day it is. I messed up. I messed up bad. We got to move past this.
Oh, good stuff.
I got one more for you if you're ready.
Let's do it.
All right, so we're gonna go back to just the Hawaii game. I am so we're coming off the field. We've had 2 3-and-outs. Maybe they got a first down, but 2 pretty quick stops. Going out for the 3rd series, and I tell Mike, I'm like, they're backed up in their own territory pretty far. I tell Mike, I'm like, Mike, I think I'm gonna knock one of these dudes out this series. Like, I kind of got that feeling like somebody's about to get it. 3rd down, we're in a defense. We're almost short hole play. I'm just playing quarterback vision, and quarterback's like getting pressure to the backfield, turns around, throws underneath crosser to the receiver, and oh my God, it's just got to turn there, and I just saw red, and that was probably the one targeting call I did deserve, and kind of didn't pull off the gas quite as much as I needed to get away with that one and then come off the field after they're reviewing it. And Mike's like, dude, are you serious? You did it. He's like, stop. He just told me he's going to do this, and he did it. His stock's like, yeah. Now he's done.
He looks at me and he's like, I didn't do it before I even say a word. And he looks at me in Stock and says that. And I look at Stock and I was like, he's done. He's absolutely done. I don't even need to see a replay. This was intentional.
That was it, man. That ended up being a bit of a defensive slugfest down there on the island too.
Yeah, I want to deliver a blow, but I wasn't thinking it was going to come in like that. And that was sure enough.
It's one of those things. You play this game 10 years ago, and everybody celebrates it, and you probably wind up on Sports Center for that hit versus out of the game.
No doubt. I think I was about a generation too late on this game, but
Yeah,
so all old trends come back around.
Mike and I we're gonna shift this thing back to the spring game here in just a second. Before we let you go, though, I want to ask you about another talented guy in the Boise State defensive backfield that did a lot for you last year. Will do even more this year. And I'm assuming Ty Benefield's going to join you in the league one day. How talented is that guy, and what makes him tick? What makes him unique? What stands out to you, I guess, when I bring up Ty Benefield?
I mean, Ty walked in as a true freshman, and we knew right away he kind of had the it factor, right? His range is incredible. He's got a great head on his shoulders, great work ethic. He plays the game the right way, super physical. And then you just kind of wonder when it's going to happen for all these guys. Like, when are they going to come over like that confidence curve and like take that next step and really become a player on Saturdays? And we saw it throughout the season, right? And like San Jose, he gets 2 takeaways in that game. He plays, I mean, just, but if you ask him how he played, you'd think he played like shit, because he's just so hard on himself and expects such high things from himself. But I'll tell you what, man, Mike and I went to the first scrimmage, and when Ty really got probably the most action he got in spring ball, and he was the best player on the field. I mean, that dude is really coming into his own, and he's going to have a phenomenal season. And I'm super excited because not only is he a great football player, he's also hilarious and a great friend and a great leader on the team. So he's next up for the BYB, we call ourselves, and he is going to have a phenomenal year.
BYB, I have a feeling that Michael Callahan, now that he's on the other side of this thing, that acronym is going to mean a little different to him on game day. Bring your own beer. But that's not. That's not what it means for you guys, though, right, Alexander?
No, sir.
At all.
You have fun with Big Mike at the scrimmage? And what was it like for you, Alexander, first time as a fan watching Boise State football? I mean, you might have liked the Broncos before or whatever, but this is like truly your guys' first time as a fan of Boise State football.
No doubt. And I mean, the coolest part for me was you're meeting all these alumni, and like I met so there's a lady from Seaside named Sally Lacoste. Her son was Kevin Lacoste and played quarterback for Seaside High School. He was a senior when I was in 8th grade, and her dad played on Boise State. I think it was 1956. So we're doing this alumni event. So he was the oldest in the room. So from 1956 all the way to the 2024, 25 grad, whatever you call me, like, you just got a collection of dudes from all these different teams, and we're kind of going back, trading off stories, and you just think it's so cool because like they throw the term around brotherhood a lot, and what this team means to people, and kind of seeing the other side of it was just so cool to me.
So what are your plans this weekend, Alexander? Are you the guy that goes and tries to distract yourself? You guys gonna order some food, watch the draft? What's the plan for you this weekend?
So we are doing a draft party type, just kind of an opportunity for everyone that's played a part in it to come hang out in Seaside, and we're gonna all watch together at the Times Theater out here. Until then, I'm just working out in the AMs, and by the time all my friends get off work, because they all got new jobs and stuff now, so we'll meet up and we'll play golf, or maybe go bowling, or just sit around shooting the shit in the afternoon. So kind of a nice semi-escape, but obviously just making a team, like getting drafted or getting a call isn't the goal. It's what comes afterwards, so preparing for that.
Well, certainly proud of you, Tubes. I know that we probably stole a few more minutes than we were supposed to. I'll let Michael get you out of here, but good luck this weekend. Tell the family hi, and can't wait to see where you go, bud.
Thanks. Appreciate that, Jay. You're the man.
Tubner, fired up. Didn't even give me a chance. Just got it.
Guy's awesome. I can't wait to see him fight and make a roster. And I don't know what his chances are, but I know that they're better than anybody's given him a chance for, because dude never let us down. I you know what I mean? Like,
yeah,
I don't know if he ever let us down.
No, and what he put on tape, like we were talking about, the versatility. He was a core 4 special teams player for virtually his entire career. At points this season, he was on all 4 special teams. And at the end of the day, you throw on the game tape. First of all, he put up the numbers in pro day that he can play in the NFL. That was the most important thing, was getting in pro day, because Tubner is undersized at the end of the day, and he doesn't care. That's just it. If anything, it gives him his edge. And put up the speed that he needed to show. It's on tape. There is several instances, UNLV game first time around really stood out to me in terms of Tubner being the best player on the field and Tubner flying around faster than anybody else. And teams are going to throw on the tape and see that. And that's an invaluable guy to the NFL system, because in reality, the roster is made up of guys like that just want their opportunity to get in and get their shot. And those are the cool stories of the NFL. So I truly believe that Tubner is going to get an opportunity. He's going to get his foot in the door somewhere, whether that's someone grabbing him in the 7th or somebody giving him a free agent deal, or whether that's even going to a mini camp. Like, I think that Tubner's a guy that even if you do get him in a mini camp, he's still going to have a chance to get that free agent deal after all. And just truly excited for him and the work that he's put in. He's going to crush it.
You know what? You look for connections and stuff for guys like this, because I think it's really important that people really truly know guys' intangibles and things like that. And I mentioned it earlier, but even like when Kellen went undrafted and he got to basically pick that he was going to go to the Detroit Lions, and a big reason why he did that is the Linehan family, and him and Scott were really close, and it allowed him to have this career that has ultimately led to him being the head coach of the New Orleans Saints. But it took a guy really understanding his intangibles, not focusing on arm strength and all that stuff. And so I wonder who that is for Tubner, because I know it's somebody out there. I know Chuck Pagano's back in the game as the Ravens secondary coach, and he's a guy that was spent a lot of time on the sidelines. Dirk obviously has phenomenal connections in the NFL and can relay some of that stuff. But who's the guy that truly understands Tubner's intangibles and gives him that chance? I'm excited to see whoever that person is, and we'll identify it here in about 5 days or so.
Yeah, it's coming. It's gonna be crazy to see unfold. I'm telling you what.
All right, so let's stay on this NFL topic here for just a little bit. I do want to put a bow on the spring game, but we have some other guys: Ahmed Hassanin, Jonah Dalmas, Shea Oladipo. So many of these guys deserve a shot. Cam Camper.
Right.
Of those guys, it does seem like Ahmed is next in line to get drafted. So for a guy that is, I mean, he loves to talk about his story, and I love to hear about his story, because he hasn't been in the States for really that long, or playing football for really that long, and now he's about to be a part of the 1% of the 1% that gets, hopefully drafted into the NFL. So how deserving is he, and what makes you believe that Ahmed Hassanin is an NFL football player?
Yeah, he's absolutely deserving of it. He's put everything he's got into this game and into learning this game. And at the end of the day, like we were saying, he hasn't been in the States that long. And, teams are going to look at that, and someone's going to fall in love with Ahmed and say, this kid's played football for 6 years. He has so much growth potential left in him that someone's going to give him an opportunity to come into that program or come into that organization and work his way into being a difference maker. And I think that, the whole postseason process for Ahmed, whether it's the Shrine Bowl, the Combine, or Pro Day, I think that all three of those, I think that he's solidified himself as an NFL draft pick. He did what he needed to do at the Combine. He crushed the Shrine Bowl, and he crushed Pro Day. Pro Day was the thing that really, in my opinion, put him over and solidified that he'll be a draft pick.
I think.
Sorry, you go.
No, I was going to say that I think a big thing that stands out for me is when you're you might be late rounds, and even some of these other guys we're talking about as undrafted guys. You don't want to give teams a reason not to draft you, right? Like you don't want to have a character issue, some type of baggage, and whether it be Ahmed Hassanin or a Shea Oladipo, like these are some of the nicest humans. With Shea, I almost go back to like Riley Wimpy, right?
Yeah.
You talk to these guys, and they are like genuinely some of like the nicest humans you've ever met. And you don't know how they have like a mean bone in their body. And maybe that's a misperception that you need a mean bone to play football. But like, what brings it out of Shea, man? Because you talk to him and he is just so nice. And then you see him on game day, and I don't even know how they're the same humans.
Right. Absolutely. And there's a lot of that in football, just in general. I truly believe that most people in football are good people. It's just that once you get to the game day, the only people that are playing Division I college football, a requirement off the jump, if you don't have, first round draft pick talent off the get-go, these guys have to have the competitive edge that they can get on the field and they can show that they belong alongside guys like that. And that's exactly what Shea does. He just comes in, puts his head down and works on a day in and day out basis. He is very talented and very athletic, and the frame that he has right now is super interesting. If I was an NFL scout or, front office guy, and I'm getting into those later rounds and I'm looking at this guy, I'm throwing on the tape and I'm seeing him run, over 23 miles an hour, chasing down a guy that had a breakaway in the Mountain West Championship game, in the biggest game of the year, for, a 90-yard chase down tackle. I think that play on its own could get a guy in the NFL, regardless of whatever else he did in his career. And him being so, he was very highly ranked in terms of sacks for a safety. I think that you look into what he's done production-wise. He has the production there. He has the game film of his speed and his actual, tangible traits. It's out there. And then you get to know this guy, and he's just the nicest guy in the world. So, it's just interesting. I agree with you. It's interesting to see some of these guys come out and flip the switch on game day and become a completely different human being.
I don't know if anybody clipped him in the college football playoff or something like that, but I know going into the Fiesta Bowl, he had more sacks than any safety in the country this season. Yeah. So a big weekend, again, a number of guys hoping to either hear their name called or get that phone call that gives them an opportunity. The one guy that we 1,000% know will be hearing his name called on national television on Thursday night 1 of the NFL draft. The first round is Ashton Jeanty. Again, I said this earlier, an unhealthy amount of time paying attention to this stuff for you, Michael Callahan. So what do you know about Ashton, and what do you what's your gut saying right now for him?
I'll tell you what, over the past 24 hours, my gut has shifted completely. I could not tell you what's going to happen on draft day, because I think that he is causing a lot of dilemmas for these GMs in these front offices right now. I just recently, in the past 2 days, the talk is Jacksonville is the favorite to grab him right now in the first round at 5. I don't know if that's a smokescreen or what teams are doing, but you look at it, and there's realistically 2 or 3 generational talents in this draft, and Ashton Jeanty is one of them. So it's very hard for a team to, granted, there are obviously positional needs that, these teams have, they need to fill, but I kind of agree with the thinking that Jacksonville could grab him, because Jacksonville does have a pretty deep team, to say the least, and they do need a defensive tackle. But this defensive tackle group is pretty deep. You can still get a very skilled guy in the second round, and you wouldn't have to pass up on a generational talent in Ashton. So who knows where this thing is going on Thursday night? But I would say 5 at the earliest, 10 at the absolute latest. No question.
I love that he is putting, it does seem like he's really putting whether it be coaches, organizations, media members in a little bit of conflict right now, because I think naturally over these last 5 years or so, you've seen the value on that running back position kind of change, and all of a sudden it takes a generational talent like a Bijan Robinson to go in the top 10, and no, nobody else is doing that, or you got to be really special. And so sometimes you see the narrative like, he could slip to Dallas at 12 or whatever, or even the Broncos at 20. And that's not it though, man. It's like all these rumors, like, are the Bears going to come up and get him now? It's like everybody's thinking like he's not going to be there if we wait.
Yeah, because the reality of it, like you said, you could see the Bears trade up to that 5 spot if they would, if Jacksonville was willing to give up that pick for a defensive tackle, because you look at it and you don't really see a defensive tackle other than Mason Graham going in the top 10, former BSU commit for the record.
Dude, you bring that up, and I wanted to touch on that. There are 10 players that are going to go in the top 10, obviously, and 20% of them have either played for or were seriously connected to Boise State at some point in time. Mason Graham, once committed here, flipped to Michigan. Yep,
and I'll tell you what, for my career personally, that was probably the best thing that could have happened to me. I don't think I was seeing the field too much if Mason Graham was a Bronco, because that is a special dude that absolutely should go in the top 10. But just off the topic of Ashton alone, I think it's going to be crazy to see what some of these front offices that do determine, we're not going to be able to get this generational talent after 10. And Chicago is probably looking at it too. Like, they've spent the whole offseason acquiring O-line and free agency, building around Caleb Williams. They already had a top 5 defense in the NFL. What's stopping them from trading a piece away or trading a few draft picks later in the draft to jump up 5 to take them in front of Las Vegas? Because every indication in the world from Las Vegas says they are taking Ashton. So it's going to be interesting to see what goes down.
It's the only thing that would probably make me ever consider getting a Raiders jersey. Let's just say that. Again, the draft begins on Thursday. BJ's going to be there for it, so BNN will have more coverage from that. I know I got the overtime meter running right now, so just charge that to BJ there, Michael. I teased it earlier, so we got to talk about Caleb Annett and this defense in the spring game really quick. Thought Caleb played really well and in some really meaningful minutes for him, you would say, because he's a redshirt freshman, 6 of 10, 77 yards, has the touchdown to Cam Bates. I thought the defense, had their moments too. Jake Ripp, Ty Benefield, there were some other guys that on the interior of the defensive line that I thought did well. What were some of your takeaways, I guess?
Yeah, I'll start with Caleb. I'll try to be quick. Like you said, we're pretty overtime, so I don't want to burn the clock here. But Caleb Annett definitely stood out to me. He stood out to me last year. I kind of had a feeling that this might be where it's trending off of what I saw earlier in the spring when I went out to a scrimmage. He just seems like he's putting it together and he's starting to figure it out. And he really showed that on Saturday. He showed, poise in the pocket, which is something that you're looking for from a year 2 quarterback. I think that he took a tremendous step forward. I think it's going to be an interesting conversation and a topic, as we get closer to summer and we're in this transfer portal window, if we do bring in another quarterback or not. But, after seeing what I saw from Caleb Annett, I personally do feel good about that backup quarterback position with Caleb Annett. In terms of the defense, like you said, Jake Ripp, Ty Benefield flying around. Jake Ripp, he's in position to have a breakout season. I think anybody that's familiar with the program has heard about Jake Ripp. The coaches speak the world of him. The players speak the world of him. I think the world of him. I saw it in person for 3 years, and he's just a football player at the end of the day, and he will be on the field, and he will make a strong impact on this team. And the last thought that I have from this interior D line was significant improvement from a young group of D linemen that have had a lot of adversity thrown their way in the first 4 months of being in this program. And, obviously the urgency skyrocketed when Braxton entered the portal. And so far as a date, I think those guys are meeting that urgency. I was very impressed with David Latu, Deion Washington, Lopez Sanusi, and I'm really impressed with Michael Madre. Michael Madre is making exponential improvement. He's getting a lot better, and I'm very excited for those 4 going forward into this season.
Well, we wave goodbye to the Boise State football team for now. We'll be following as much as we can, but don't really get to reconnect with them in person until early August when fall camp kicks off. So spring ball was fun, and now I don't know about you, man, but these summer months actually start to fly by. Like when I was a little bit younger or whatever, it felt like we actually had summers and things like that. But now it's spring ball is over, and I know that we'll be booking travel to Las Vegas for media days before we know it, and after that, it's like spring or fall camp begins.
You're gonna blink, and they're gonna be in Tampa, getting ready to play USF, and you're 100% right. I feel the same way. When I first got on campus, those summers felt like it was a year. And the last 2 years in the summer, it was a blink, and, we were either at Washington or we were at Georgia Southern, and it was time to go. So it's gonna be here before we know it. And I'm excited about where this team's at right now, and I'm excited about where they're heading. They have the right people leading this program, and they have the right leaders in the locker room for right now in this team. And it's just an exciting time to see this team start to come together.
Well, Michael, we appreciate your time this morning. Michael Callahan coming to a tailgate near you this fall. Get a chance to experience the different side of football. I know that again we're 12 minutes over, so whatever that is, charge that to BJ Rains. I'll provide his email address for you after this one. I know that BJ's got to pay the bills though too, so I don't want to throw any curveballs at Jaden, but we'll allow him to thank some sponsors. We're signing off. Coming up after the break, though, BJ Rain chats with Boise State beach volleyball coach Allison Voigt as the Broncos get ready to compete at the Southland Tournament Championships.
Thanks for having me, guys.
Bronco Nation News is presented by our title sponsor, RovePaint.com. Our major sponsors, Idaho Central Credit Union, Taco Bell, Lithia Ford, the Blue and Orange Store, Jackson's, and our contributing sponsors, Signature Roofing, Western Collective, Snake River Pool and Spa, Transportation Compliance Service, Boucher Real Estate, Ridley's Family Markets, Circa Las Vegas, Lean Feast, and Timberstone Golf Course.
All right, excited here on Bronco Nation News. Talk a little Boise State beach volleyball. The head coach, Allison Voigt, joining us. Just announced conference, Southland Conference Coach of the Year. Congratulations, Allison. Thanks for jumping on with us. How you doing?
Yeah, no, thanks for having me. I'm really excited to be here.
Regular season conference champions. Now you're getting ready to start the conference tournament here on Wednesday. I just mentioned you got Coach of the Year. Exciting times right now for the beach volleyball team.
Very exciting times. Yeah, we've been every year. I've been here for the beach volleyball program. Every year we've always added something new that we've never done in our program history, especially getting the regular season champions in the mid-season tournament. And our biggest goal right now, we're going to the conference championship here soon. We're excited to compete against those teams again and hopefully get that trophy and that bid to the NCAA tournament after it.
Yeah, regular season champs, you go 8-0 in conference play, but kind of similar to maybe more traditional, something fans are familiar with, like men's or women's basketball. It doesn't matter what you did in the regular season. You got to win the conference tournament here. So double elimination tournament down there in New Orleans starting on Wednesday. Tell us about the conference tournament here. I know you guys went 8-0 in league play, but I know the last couple of years, Corpus Christi, right, has been a little tough to deal with. So give us the lowdown on the tournament.
No, we're really excited. So how our conference, like you said, is a double elimination bracket until you get to the championship game. It's a single elimination once you make it to the final, kind of winners bracket championship game. So last couple years, we've made it to the championship match and we've lost to Corpus, which is a really great program. Gail Stammer's the head coach down there. They've been so rock solid. She just has a great program. But I think this year we have a couple teams in our conference that have been having great seasons. So we are going to be waiting for the 8-9 seed to battle it out that first round, and then we'll be waiting for that to have our next match on that Wednesday. And then from there, we have a couple teams that we're really excited to play against again, which is Stephen F. Boston, who's had a great season this year. We beat them 3-2, which was a close match for us at midseason. And then from there, I'm always a believer, you never know in conference, right? And I think for us, we're just really excited to hopefully add another, history-making moment in our season.
Yeah, 5-0 last weekend at the Boise State Beach Classic. 15 of 16, I think, in terms of your duels. You guys seem to be rolling into the conference tournament here on a good note.
Exactly, and I don't know if you saw our beginning of our season schedule where we played. Oh my gosh, I can't even remember how many ranked teams, but for that we had the top. At the time, we had TCU we played against, who's number 2 in the nation right now. But we had, I think, at least 7 matches that were in the top 20. in the beginning of our season, which at first is like a grind getting through that. But I think that helped us become a better team by the end of the season. I'm a full believer of you've got to be peaking at the right time. And the end of the season, especially with the conference tournament this weekend, is like our ticket to the NCAA tournament. So making sure we're peaking at the right time. We've been talking a lot of track kind of terminology about like having the right time managing the kick for our team. And a couple of our girls understood that part. So making sure that we're playing really, really well. And the fact that we played really great teams at our home tournament and we went 5-0 just shows like we're just peaking at the right time, which we're really excited about.
I know you could list, every member on the team. It's been a team effort this year, but who for fans that are maybe jumping in now, paying attention, who are a couple names and who's really kind of led you guys at this point?
So we've had a lot of upperclassmen do a really good job for us this year. And I would say a lot of people we mixed and we had so many different partnerships throughout the season, more than we've had in previous years. But a couple names that have been lights out for us have just been so consistent. It's been Charlie O'Neill. She's been a senior for us this year, and she's just put so much investment into her game and just gotten better every single year. And the fact that she's like putting all of her eggs in one basket this year and playing the best that she's ever played, it's been awesome to see that. And then her partner is Allison Alden. So they're by far most consistent team. They're now our ones going into this tournament, which we're really excited about. They started in our twos. And then I think Emilia Guerrera Acuna, she's been a senior for us, just a great leader, great teammate. And she's just been so consistent, and she's been bouncing around a lot in our lineup, but she's just been handling that kind of mentality of just, I want to do whatever we can do for this team. And it's been awesome to see just her growth this year and kind of leave it all out there when it's your senior season. But we've had a couple freshmen and a couple juniors that have been stepping up, and Avery Allen's one of our freshmen that we've had in our lineup from the get-go, and she has been amazing. So not only just those girls, a lot of girls on our team, like you said, have been huge impact players, but I'm excited that everyone is peaking right at the best time, not just one team here and there. It's been the whole roster, which has been great.
Allison Voigt's our guest here on Bronco Nation News. Past 100 career victories earlier this season. Congratulations on that. Also, as we said off the top, the Southland Conference Coach of the Year, your first honor there. So that's pretty cool as you guys get set for the conference tournament coming up this week. What's it been like? You've been here, the head coach, all 6 years of this program. I think I saw a note where you had over 300 fans, at the matches this past weekend. To see that, I mean, it's still kind of weird to say beach volleyball in Boise, Idaho for some, but just you've made it work, obviously, and continue to kind of raise the bar, as you said. What's it kind of been like for you, just kind of seeing the evolution of this?
It's been amazing to see not only the growth of the sport in general in the country, but also on campus. Our administration has been backing us immensely, and they're just a full believer of what we've been doing here as our culture, but also just what we've been very successful in our program the last couple of years. We've added 20 plus wins every single year the last 4 years, and keep adding to that. And the fact of the reason why we've been able to play all these great teams during the seasons too is because of our administration support, and they want to make sure we are going to be giving the best experience to our student athletes. And it's been awesome to see just the growth within that the last couple of years. Like before Southland, we were independent and we didn't have a conference championship to compete for. Now that we are knocking on the door, getting an NCAA bid already this year, last couple of years, it just shows of how much we're just putting in and valuing our student athletes and this program. And for me, it's just more of, it's been exciting to see how volleyball in general on campus is just getting better. And it's fun to see, especially the last couple of days, that the weather's been so great that not only just after our team's done practicing, you see other people just in the Boise area coming on course and playing. And so the fact that more people are getting to know about our beach volleyball program, it just, with 300 people going to our home tournaments, it just the energy and just the support, it really does enhance the experience. And I just can't say enough to not only just Bronco Nation, but also just to see what the girls have been really putting towards their craft and just what they've been showcasing for being great student athletes, great young women. And I'm just excited to keep seeing what the future kind of holds after whatever happens after this week, but also just in the future of this program.
What do you what do you remember, like when you first heard about that they wanted to start beach volleyball, or how did that kind of go about? I know you were already here and then took over as head coach, but I don't know what your kind of 5-6 year plan was or whatever, but just take us back to the beginnings and where do you think the program is compared to when you first thought about this possibly being a reality?
Yeah, so when I first got here at Boise State, I was the assistant for both the indoor and beach programs. And at the time, our beach team was the indoor team. And so the reason why we added beach volleyball in general was Sean Garris, who's a head volleyball coach. He was like, well, let's make volleyball better in general. And with beach volleyball in the spring, you can go and travel a lot more and play against those top teams, so you feel more prepared for the indoor season in the fall. And so that's kind of the starting point, like how beach volleyball started on campus. And then after a couple of years, beach volleyball just around the country just got more popular. More girls are going that route than the indoor route at the time, where they had to kind of choose. And where we were as a program, we added 5 student athletes probably around my second year with the indoor team, because beach volleyball was kind of growing pretty quickly. More schools were adding beach volleyball as a sport. We saw what the benefit was to have 2 separate programs. And it took a little bit of time just because we still had some indoor girls that were doing both, that were playing beach and indoor, which was really exciting. They were kind of more of our physical players, the blockers and everything like that, which was really helpful. But our last indoor and beach player was in 2021 or 2022. I forget the years, but it was Ali O'Hara, Danny Boss. They were the big indoor girls at the time. They played their last year on the beach side. But just seeing the progression of just, we don't have any more indoor girls on our roster. So just, we have a full roster of 19 student athletes, and showing just how much this beach program has grown since I first started, when it was like no beach student athletes. It's been remarkable just how much we've been putting towards this program. And again, like I said, the administration's been backing us so much. But for me, like, to make that transition, I had, indoor was my background. I played beach after I was done playing college, and I knew beach was getting more popular, and it was really exciting. And I wanted to be a part of just building something that was special. And the sport is such a cool sport. It's so different than a lot of sports, I think, around this country. But being a part of seeing that growth has been really great.
So as the years have gone on, as you've been in the conference now, competing for a conference championship, now being, regular season champions, how has that helped make it easier? I assume when you first started, you picked up the phone, to recruit somebody, you're from where? You think like I said, I'm not trying to make a joke or anything, but you think of a beach volleyball team, or most of them being on a coast or having being on a beach. But you guys have obviously pushed past that. I know other schools too. You're not the only school that does this, obviously. But just how has that part of it been easier, I guess, for recruiting and stuff, as you've built this program into more of a national program and brand here?
Yeah, no, it's been absolutely amazing. Just kind of see the growth within just more people knowing about Boise State. A lot of the times when I was in the recruiting process, and we still get it here and there, everyone asks, like, do we have blue sand? And I'm like, that's a great question, but we don't. But I think because Boise State in general, the whole athletic department has been super successful. And I think a lot more people, I would say, in the California, Arizona, Texas, like where we go to recruit, a lot of people just know Boise State as just a university, and just how successful the athletic department's been. And so for us to get our foot in the door with the recruiting process, our big belief is if we could get them to Boise, I think they're going to fall in love with what the community is like, how the university is just stepping up their game with just a lot of different type of academic careers you can go into. And then just the community of just the athletic department, but on top of like Boise community, is just unbelievable. Like I think we are so fortunate for what we have here, and for getting people to come to Boise, people fall in love with it instantly. And I think also for the recruiting, like we're really big on making sure they're their whole athlete, so they have balance between being a student but also being an athlete and playing at a high level. And I think that's just what we have something special here. And we talk to a lot of girls around the whole country. We have, like, I think our furthest away is San Antonio, Texas, but we had someone from Oklahoma. We've had New Mexico, Colorado. So it's been really fun to just get more people from different regions to this area. And I think with the recruiting process, it's been helpful to be successful here also, not only having a good culture, having a good program, and having all these pillars that we really try to stand by, but also the success, and it shows that you got to recruit the right person to be successful here at Boise State. And it's been so fun in that recruiting process, get people to really dive into what we have here as an athletic department, but also like keep kind of going back and forth. But the community in Boise is pretty remarkable. Well,
with that said, I guess final question for you. We're getting Allison Voigt, Conference Coach of the Year. They're getting ready for the conference tournament this week. What would it mean to you to win this conference tournament, get that spot in the 16-team national tournament the following weekend, just personally as a team, as a program? I mean, you're right on the cusp of this, although it feels really far away, I'm sure, for you with all the work you have ahead the next couple of days. But what would it mean to this program and for you if you guys could win this conference tournament?
It would mean a lot. And I think it's not just because of this year's team. It's been since we started this program, like we've been really wanting to, of course, compete for championships. We want to be competing to be the best in the nation, like competing against those teams that are the best around us. it would mean a lot because there's a lot of hard work that these girls are putting into every day in and day out. And I think for us, knowing that we've had this regular season championship, I think that did help our team realizing like we can do this, not meaning like the imposter syndrome side, if that makes sense. Being like, are we supposed to? It's like, no, we can do this. We can play at a high level. We can be able to compete against the best. And I think for us, hopefully we can win that tournament at the end of this week. And I'm a full believer, like you go in and you are working your butt off every single day. Hopefully we can be that team at the end, but at the same time too, it's all in you only can control what you can control. But it would mean a lot because I know it's not just for this team that is on the court right now this year, but it's been many years before this that has helped us get to this point.
Well, good luck. Don't stop this weekend. Win this one, then go win the following weekend too. You make that happen. We'll get you back on the show again. We appreciate you jumping on. Thanks to Alex for helping out as well. Safe travels. Best of luck. And it's been fun the last couple of years to see this program continue to elevate and obviously could reach even new heights with conference championship here in the tournament this week. So best of luck, and we really appreciate your time today.
Sounds great. Thank you so much.
Bronco Nation News is presented by our title sponsor, RowPaint.com. Our major sponsors, Idaho Central Credit Union, Taco Bell, Lithia Ford, the Blue and Orange Store, Jackson's, and our contributing sponsors, Signature Roofing, Western Collective, Snake River Pool and Spa, Transportation Compliance Service, Boucher Real Estate, Ridley's Family Markets, Circa Las Vegas, Lean Feast, and Timberstone Golf Course.